everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you are having a great day. I thought I'd show you the studio because it's dark outside, so I can't go out and do my usual chat with the chickens. And I know that a lot of you have asked, how do you make these videos and stuff? So I thought I'd give you a quick tour of the studio. Right now we're set up in our 10 setups. If I move back here, you'll see that right above me we have a microphone. That's not the one I'm using at the moment. I'm actually using the radio pack on my butt pocket. And it's going into a little recorder right there, which is, you can see, it's going up and down, means I'm recording. This is the camera that we normally use for 10 right in front of me there with the lights and everything else. The cupboard is full of all of our gear. And we really do have lights absolutely everywhere. There's a light there. There's a light there. Lots of soundproofing on the walls, as you can see. And then, of course, this is where the camera sits when I do the weekly, the daily vlog, or whatever you want to call it. So you can see the iMac in the background. And a lot of people have asked, is the iMac really an iMac that works? How do you know it's live? There you go. And that wasn't a sound effect. So that's actually now going to start up. I'll have to turn it off. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you today about energy. So it's been the election this week, obviously. And the election has been kind of scary for people, obviously. I'm not going to go and talk about the election because I know that a lot of people are going to be very upset right now. But suffice to say, I don't know what the results of the election are yet because I'm filming this on Friday evening, late Friday evening, in fact. By the time this is published on Sunday, we might know. But regardless of who wins the presidential election, I think it's fair to say that we've all got to change the way we are using energy and we are using transportation. Now, obviously, one candidate is likely going to make that easier than another. And one of the ways that people have talked about transitioning away from fossil fuels and onto cleaner sources of electricity is to use nuclear power stations. Now, yeah, I dropped that one. As Fukushima has taught us, and many other accidents over the years, I grew up in the 80s and remember Chernobyl when I was a kid. Two kind of most influential things from my childhood were shuttles exploding and Chernobyl. So I'm not a particular fan of nuclear power. I'm just going to say that right now, partly because of the potential for things going wrong, either with bad actors getting into the power station and sabotaging it, or natural disasters, or there being some kind of malfunction which causes something to go bang. And nuclear fallout is pretty nasty stuff. So I'm curious as to how long it's going to be before we don't need to think of nuclear as part of a renewable energy solution for our future. Now, a lot of people, especially critics of renewable energy, say things like, yeah, but, wind is no good because it doesn't always blow, the sun doesn't always shine, so solar panels aren't any good. But as we know, as Tesla has said, as Elon Musk has said rather, we have enough resources on planet Earth today, if we put our mind to it, to transition the entire world away from fossil fuels and onto clean, green, renewable electricity. We have enough storage capability to build storage grids that can store energy generated when wind turbines are blowing, when the sun is shining, and store that in grid-connected projects that can feed power back into the grid as and when it's needed. And more importantly, we are now in an age of microgeneration, where we can actually make our own energy at home. We never used to be able to do that unless you had a water wheel. Now we can make our own electricity at home on the roof of our home, or with a wind turbine, And that gives us energy independence. That means we don't need to have these massive power stations. We can have decentralized energy, which is a much safer solution because it's more robust, it's more capable if there's an earthquake or some other natural disaster, and it can ensure that people are responsible for their own energy generation. That can be a very empowering experience. If you've got solar panels that are making energy for you, you don't have to rely on someone else. And if you want to kind of see that emphasized, I really highly recommend that you read The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It's about a boy called William Kamkwabe, who I believe is now in the United States, lives in the United States. It was turned into a film. The film was not as good as the book, so go read the book and then watch the film. But it shows what happens if a community that doesn't have control over its own energy suddenly gets that control over its own energy and its own power, and it can have control over its own destiny. And obviously, we talk about electric vehicles on this channel, we talk about green transportation solutions, but energy is part of that as well. And I would love to know how long you think it's going to be before nuclear power stations are no longer needed to offset any grid demand that we create when we turn off oil and gas power stations, because they are going offline. And a lot of countries are saying, well, if we don't have nuclear power, we're boned. But I don't think that's necessarily the truth anymore. I think we have the actual capabilities to turn nations 100% renewable using grid-tied energy storage products, whether that is second life battery packs, whether that's brand new battery packs, mega pack style installations as we're seeing in Australia and other places around the world with high amounts of sunlight, or whether that is another solution, and all of the above are mentioned as part of it. Now, for those who say, yeah, you don't understand nuclear power, actually, I toured a nuclear power station when I was like 6. It was a school field trip. I'm not kidding you. I went to a very small, tiny school in a village in East Anglia in the Waveney Valley. I'm going to describe it. You can probably guess it if you know it, but I'm not going to say the name of it. It had a village green. The school was very picturesque. It was designed by a very famous East Anglian architect. And one of the teachers at that school, it had 3 teachers. When I left, I think there were 30 children. One of the teachers at that school in the 1980s had, her husband worked at the Sizewell, I think it was the Sizewell B power station, which was being constructed. And I think it was either B or C. I remember going on a field trip to the nuclear power station with my school. My dad came along as well, and we toured the nuclear power plant. You imagine that happening today? I don't think it probably would. And I think it probably happened just before Chernobyl. So again, I doubt that it would be allowed today, but I remember it and remember seeing it and thinking how cool it was. But as I've got older, I have learned more about what happens, half-life of all of the waste that comes out of those places. And, you know, it reminds us that you can't, there's no such thing as a free lunch, which is what nuclear power promised to be for many generations. And now, you know, we would have to pay back for many, many centuries if we just transitioned everything to nuclear power. So I'm hoping that nuclear will die and we'll be able to use truly renewable energy storage solutions and generation methods to make sure that we have non-toxic, non-damaging ways of keeping, storing and maintaining energy. And I know it's not completely non-toxic because batteries have nasty chemicals in them, solar panels have nasty chemicals in them, wind turbines have nasty chemicals in them, but that's a lot better than nuclear power, or the risk of a nuclear power station going kablooey and nuclear fallout. Let me know what you think below. I will be back tomorrow with great, cool stuff. Thanks to everybody who sent, you know, well wishes and stuff to Erin. She is now in the process of hunting for a replacement car. Not directly connected to Transport Evolved, but obviously because she works for Transport Evolved. I think she's looking at Chevrolet Volts at the moment, and maybe the Audi e-tron as well. Because of where she lives, she's not guaranteed to have charging all the time, so she has gone for a plug-in hybrid option. But her goal is to try and operate it in electric mode as much as possible. We're going to try and find her a charging solution that she can just use at the household outlet or whatever else she happens to have in whichever other homes she lives in moving forward. So if you did help her with that, I know she's very, very grateful. And there is a video coming on that subject. Thanks to the amazing people who are scrolling by on my right. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. Just wouldn't be able to. And there's been a real increase in the number of people making donations through Patreon recently. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, my dodgy heart, but thank you from the bottom of my heart, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. Now you've seen the tour of the studio, and a lot of this equipment has been new in the last year, and it's been made possible thanks to you guys. So better camera, which can film in 6K or 4K, proper lights that mean that my green screen is better, decent microphone, and a decent microphone. The radio pack is amazing. I'm loving the radio pack already. So it's all possible thanks to you guys. I'll be back. Keep evolving.